The night my sister went viral for the very idea I spent 5 years building, my phone buzzed so violently it fell off the table. At first, I thought something terrible had happened, an accident, a scandal, a family emergency. Instead, it was far worse. It was betrayal wrapped in glitter, hashtags, and applause. On my screen, there she was, Liana, smiling into the camera, holding my product prototype, presenting my brand concept, speaking my script word for word, my dream becoming her success in real time. The video was already everywhere. Trending. Shared. Celebrated. And she looked radiant beneath the ring light I bought for her birthday, wearing the confident grin of someone who had finally found her passion. The problem was that her passion was mine. For the longest time, I believed that if I loved my sister hard enough, she wouldn't hurt me. We grew up sharing everything, our toys, our room, our secrets, our fears. But the older we became, the clearer it became that Liana didn't share. She took. She took opportunities, credit, space, attention, and now, she had taken the one thing I had ever truly built for myself. My business idea wasn't just a project. It was my escape from a job that drained me, a life that felt suffocating, and a family dynamic where I was always the backup singer behind Liana's spotlight. For years, I had researched natural skincare for sensitive skin, building formulas, testing ingredients, saving up to register my brand. I had a notebook filled with sketches, product names, taglines, marketing plans, and Liana knew all of it. She even encouraged me, telling me my idea was so inspiring, and she couldn't wait to see me launch. What I didn't know was that she was listening not as a sister, but as a thief. When I opened the full video, my stomach twisted. She was demonstrating my exact lavender clay cleanser formula, the one I spent months perfecting. She even used the same label design I showed her 2 weeks earlier, down to the watercolor background I painted myself. There was no coincidence, no accidental overlap. She had stolen everything. My hands shook as I watched. Each second felt like being pushed underwater, a struggle for breath, a drowning realization that she had crossed a line we could never come back from. Comment after comment praised her for being so innovative, so authentic, so creative. Influencers were stitching her video, hyping her as the next big thing. Brands were already following her. I sat frozen in my quiet room while her face flashed across millions of screens. She hadn't launched a small page. She had built a movement using my work. The worst part wasn't the theft itself. It was the casual ease with which she did it. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. When I confronted her in the living room, she didn't even flinch. She was still wearing full makeup from filming, her hair in the soft curls I helped her style. "Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic," she said, sipping an iced matcha. "You were never going to actually launch. You talk too much and act too little. I just made it happen." And just like that, she ignited a war between us. One I never asked for. One I couldn't walk away from. Because she hadn't just taken my idea, she had taken my identity. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw her smiling at the camera, confidently presenting the idea she once told me was nice but unrealistic. The betrayal was a wound that kept tearing open, refusing to clot. By morning, I felt hollow, like she had scooped out everything inside me and replaced it with her ambition. Before sunrise, I sat on the floor with my notebook, the one filled with the formulas, sketches, brand concepts, ingredient tests, and launch plans. Every page was proof that the idea was mine. Every page was a reminder of the hours I spent researching, experimenting, failing, and trying again. None of it came easily to me. I wasn't a natural spotlight chaser like Liana. I didn't crave attention. I craved purpose. But now she had taken even that. I opened her Instagram page again, hoping somehow all of this would feel less painful. It didn't. She had posted 6 new stories overnight. Unboxing videos, behind-the-scenes clips, a morning routine using her products. She had even filmed a Q&A where she talked about the long process of developing her own formulas. My formulas. The comments were overflowing. "You're a genius. You should make a whole line. Girl, This is your calling. Please start a business. We'll buy everything. People had created fan pages. Fan pages. For my dream. As I scrolled, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. She had created a business account. With my brand name. My exact brand name. She didn't even bother to change it. All she did was add an underscore. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not anger. Not jealousy. Resolve. I wasn't going to let her erase me. I grabbed my laptop, notebook, and every sample I had created over the last year and sat at the kitchen table. For the first time in months, I felt something other than despair. I felt clarity. I drafted a timeline of my work to document everything. Research notes. Ingredient purchases. Email receipts. Sample photos. Even the voice notes I had sent Liana over the last few months, explaining my progress. My hands moved fast, driven by the kind of focus you only feel when everything is at stake. Halfway through organizing my evidence, I heard footsteps. Liana. She came downstairs wearing my favorite hoodie, the one she borrowed 6 months ago and never returned. She looked at the papers spread across the table and laughed. "What is this? A diary meltdown?" she asked, picking up one of my sample jars. "You're being so emotional. The internet loves me right now. This is good for both of us." "Both of us," I repeated. "Yes," she said, as if this made perfect sense. "You can help me with formulas, packaging, the boring behind-the-scenes stuff you're good at. And I'll be the face. It's perfect." Perfect. She genuinely believed I would become her assistant. That she could take the spotlight while I worked like her unpaid intern in the background. The entitlement in her voice was unbearable. "No," I finally said. "This ends now." She raised an eyebrow. "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure yet. All I knew was one thing. I wasn't going to let her rewrite my story. And I wasn't going to let her succeed with a stolen dream. I didn't respond to Liana's question. If I had, the anger rising inside me might have exploded into something neither of us could take back. Instead, I packed my notebook, samples, and laptop into my backpack and walked out of the house before sunrise fully broke through the sky. Cold air stung my cheeks, but it steadied me. I needed clarity, distance, and a plan bigger than emotions. At a small cafe a few blocks away, I took a corner seat and spread everything across the table. The barista knew me well enough not to ask questions. I often came here to work on my formulas. Except today wasn't about creation. It was about protection. My first step: secure everything legally. I pulled up the government portal and started filing the paperwork I should have submitted months ago. Trademarks, business name registration, domain purchase, copyright documentation, product formulation records. It was overwhelming, expensive, and stressful, but it was also necessary. If I hesitated now, she would win. As I worked, something strange happened. Not weakness, not fear, but empowerment. For years I had doubted myself, convinced that my ideas weren't good enough until someone else validated them. Now, faced with losing everything, I realized that the only thing that had ever held me back was hesitation. Liana wasn't the visionary. She was simply faster to claim things I was afraid to fight for. Not anymore. After hours of filing, documenting, and gathering every shred of proof, I opened my phone to find 47 new notifications, all related to her. Someone had posted a side-by-side comparison, her product next to a formula photo I had once shared on my private story, meant for close friends only. The similarity was undeniable. Comments started speculating. A few people asked how she developed everything so fast. A handful began questioning the authenticity of her process. A crack had formed in her perfect influencer facade. But the real blow came when I opened her newest reel. She was crying. "I've been getting hate today," she said dramatically, mascara smudged. "People think I stole someone's idea, but I've worked so hard. I can't believe I have to defend myself like this." It was an award-winning performance. She sobbed, sniffled, and clutched her product like a wounded artist defending her masterpiece. And people ate it up. Sympathy flooded in. Supporters attacked her critics. Her followers surged. The knot in my stomach tightened. She wasn't just stealing my idea. She was weaponizing my silence. As I watched, a message appeared from an unfamiliar number. "Hey, is everything okay between you and your sister? I run a small podcast that discusses influencer ethics. Someone sent me receipts that connect your work to hers. Want to talk?" I froze. Someone had noticed. Someone outside our family. Someone who could help me expose the truth. I stared at the message for a long moment. My heart hammered, not from fear, but from possibility. If I went public, everything would change. Our relationship, our family's peace, her career, my future. There would be no going back. But maybe going back wasn't an option anymore. I typed slowly. "Yes. I'm ready to talk." Before I hit send, I glanced out the cafe window. The sun had finally risen, warm and bright, cutting through the morning chill. Maybe this time, the light would land on me. Before sending the message, I hesitated for a single breath, just one. Not because I doubted myself, but because I understood the weight of what I was about to do. Exposing Liana meant shattering the image she had built, the image our parents adored, the image she hid behind whenever things went wrong. But silence had already cost me too much. I pressed send. Within minutes, the podcast host replied. His name was Ellis, and he had a reputation for covering social media controversies with fairness, evidence, and calm analysis. He wasn't the type to chase drama. That made him trustworthy. He offered to call immediately, and though my pulse raced, I accepted. When his voice came through the phone, it was steady and professional. "I've received screenshots, timestamps, and several anonymous messages," he said. "But I need to hear it from you, start to finish." So I told him everything. I told him how I'd spent 5 years developing formulas for sensitive skin. How every detail, from the name to the packaging, was my work. How I documented everything. How Liana had watched, listened, and slowly absorbed my plans until she could imitate them perfectly. I explained the video, the business account with my brand name, the samples she stole from my room. Every word felt like releasing a weight I'd been carrying for years. Ellis didn't interrupt. When I finished, he exhaled softly. "This is one of the clearest cases of idea theft I've ever seen," he said. "If you're willing to go on record, it will matter." "I'm sure," I answered. "Then let's do this." After the call, I packed my things and headed home, expecting tension, maybe questions, maybe a confrontation. But I walked into a scene that nearly made me drop my bag. My parents were on the couch, laptop open, watching Liana's latest meltdown video. She sat beside them, curled under a blanket, looking fragile and devastated. Another performance for the home audience. The moment she saw me, her eyes narrowed. "There she is," she said dramatically. "The reason I'm being harassed online." My mother turned toward me immediately. "What is going on? Why are people accusing your sister of stealing? Did you tell someone something?" Before I could speak, Liana jumped in. "She's jealous. I've been working so hard, and now she wants attention. She always does this. Always." The irony nearly made me laugh. I didn't say anything. I replied calmly. "People notice similarities. That's not my fault." Liana scoffed loudly. "Oh, please. You're trying to ruin my career before it even starts. Your career is built on my work." Her face twisted, and she stood abruptly. "You're insane." My father slammed his laptop shut. "Enough. Both of you. This family will not be dragged into online disgrace." Online disgrace. That was his concern, not justice, not truth, not betrayal. Just embarrassment. I stepped back, realizing something painful. I had no allies in that room. Not one. "I'm doing an interview," I said quietly. "Everything will come out." Liana's expression changed instantly, rage mixing with fear. "You wouldn't dare." "I already did." For a moment, she looked genuinely shaken. Her confidence cracked. Her grip on her stolen empire loosened. And in that flicker of vulnerability, I saw something surprising. She knew she was guilty. And she knew this time, I wasn't backing down. The war she started was no longer hers to control. The interview went live 3 days later. I expected backlash. I expected noise, arguments, disbelief. What I didn't expect was silence. Heavy, charged, suffocating silence inside our home. Liana barely looked at me. My parents walked around me like I was a cracked mirror they were afraid to touch. The tension became so thick that even the sound of the microwave felt intrusive. But the world outside wasn't silent at all. The moment the episode dropped, people reacted.
Fast.
Ellis had presented everything calmly, factually, piece by piece. Screenshots.
Dates.
Formulation logs. My notebook scans. Pictures of the prototypes. Voice notes where I explained formulas to Liana. Even the clip from her crying video, where she contradicted herself 3 times within a minute. He didn't attack her. He simply revealed the truth. Comments surged. Wow, she literally copied everything. She used her sister's entire brand? This is textbook idea theft. She guilt-tripped and gaslit her? She owes you more than an apology. Within hours, the tide shifted. Influencers who had supported her quietly unfollowed. Some posted statements about respecting original creators. Others deleted their earlier praise entirely. Brands backed away. Fan pages vanished. And for the first time since the betrayal, people were saying my name, not hers.
Mine.
But inside the house, victory didn't feel like victory. It felt like walking through shards of glass. My mother cornered me in the kitchen that evening, her voice low but sharp. You humiliated your sister online. No, I said. She humiliated herself. I told the truth. She is family, she insisted. You protect family. I stared at her, stunned at the hypocrisy. Where was this loyalty when my work was stolen? When I was erased? When Liana mocked me in front of them? Did you ever protect me? I asked quietly. She blinked, taken aback. This isn't about you. It always has been. Before she could speak again, Liana shuffled into the kitchen. Her hair was unstyled, her eyes swollen from crying, her phone permanently glued to her hand as she obsessively refreshed her notifications. The moment she saw me, her face twisted with resentment. You ruined everything, she said, voice trembling with a mix of anger and desperation. Brands are pulling out. People are calling me a thief. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yes, I said. I stopped you from stealing my future. She threw her phone onto the counter. You didn't have to go public. You could have come to me. We could have figured something out. I tried talking to you. I reminded her. You told me to be your assistant. She flinched. The truth had weight now. Weight she couldn't toss aside with a smirk. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. Delete the interview. Make a statement. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. The desperation in her voice might have broken me once. I used to bend whenever she cried. I used to shrink so she could shine. But not anymore. I won't lie for you, I said. And I won't bury my work so you can keep pretending. Her face hardened again. Then you're dead to me. She stormed off, footsteps echoing through the hallway like slamming doors. I stood alone in the kitchen, the quiet pressing in on all sides, but for the first time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel overshadowed. I felt free. The collapse of her false empire had begun. And soon, I would rise from the wreckage she created. Liana's declaration, "You're dead to me," echoed in my mind long after she slammed her bedroom door. It was the kind of phrase that once would have destroyed me, the kind that would have made me chase after her, apologize for things I didn't do, and beg her to forgive me simply to restore peace. But this time, it didn't shatter me. It clarified something I had been avoiding for years. I had spent most of my life treating my sister like a mirror, believing her approval defined my worth. But the mirror was cracked, and I finally stopped cutting myself trying to fix it. The next morning, I woke up to messages from strangers, hundreds of them. Some were supportive, some shared their own stories of being overshadowed by a sibling, and some simply thanked me for speaking up. A few even asked where they could buy my products. For the first time, instead of feeling panic, I felt possibility. I brewed a cup of tea and opened my notebook. The pages were messy, full of edits, scribbles, failures, successes, real work. My work. I ran my fingers over the ink and made a decision I should have made years ago. I was going to launch my business. Not someday. Not once I'm ready. Not when fear faded.
Now.
I spent the entire morning creating a clean version of my formulas, documenting each step. I sketched new label ideas, not watercolor this time. It was time for something sharper, bolder, unmistakably mine. I bought the domain and began building a simple website. It wasn't perfect, but perfection was never the point. Progress was. Around noon, I heard Liana's door open. She moved quietly, with a heaviness I had never seen in her. She walked past me without a word, heading straight for the living room. A few minutes later, I heard her voice, emotionless, monotone, recording what sounded like an apology statement for her followers. She wasn't doing it because she regretted what she had done. She was doing it because she was losing. Even now, her apologies were a performance. I ignored her and continued working. Hours passed. I was halfway through designing the homepage when someone knocked on the door. When I opened it, I found my father standing there, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "We need to talk," he said. I stepped aside, letting him in. He walked to the kitchen table and glanced at my notebook, the laptop, the sketches. "Are you really going through with this?" he asked. "Yes." "You're tearing this family apart." I kept my voice steady. "I'm building something. She's the one who caused this." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "She's your sister. You should help her rebuild." "She burned everything," I said. "And now she wants me to hand her the ashes shaped into something beautiful." For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, unexpectedly, he said, "Fine. Do what you want. But understand this. Your mother and I won't take sides." That was a lie. They already had. But I didn't argue. I didn't need their approval anymore. After he left, the house felt strangely lighter, like the weight of their expectations had finally lifted off my shoulders. That night, I posted a simple message on my own social media account. "I'm launching my skincare line soon. It's time." No drama.
No coyotes. No bitterness.
Just truth. The response was immediate and overwhelmingly supportive. For the first time in my life, people were showing up for me. And it felt like the beginning of something I had waited years to claim. My own name. My own work. My own future. Launch day arrived far faster than I expected. Maybe because for the first time in years, everything I did was fueled by momentum instead of fear. Maybe because once I finally let go of waiting for approval from my sister, from my parents, from anyone, the work stopped feeling like work. It felt like reclaiming breath. My small website went live at 9 a.m.
No countdown. No dramatic trailer. No influencer hype.
Just a clean homepage, 3 products, and a story told simply, a creator finally stepping out of the shadows. Within minutes, orders started coming in. 5. Then 14. Then 42. Then over 100. Strangers shared the link. People messaged me saying they had waited for me to launch since the interview. Someone even wrote, "Your courage is part of your brand now. I trust you." For the first time, the world felt vast, not intimidating vast, but full of opportunity vast. I refreshed the order page repeatedly, unable to stop myself from smiling like someone who had finally broken a curse. And in many ways I had. By noon, the house was buzzing again, but this time, not because of me. My mother paced the hallway, whispering urgently. My father watched the news on mute, his knee bouncing nervously. They had seen something that changed the temperature of the house. I found out what it was when Liana came down the stairs. She looked different. Not glamorous, not polished. Her hair was tied in a careless knot, and she wore an oversized sweater like armor. She carried her phone in both hands, gripping it like it might slip away. "They're canceling me," she said quietly, stopping at the bottom step. Her voice was so small it almost didn't sound like hers. My parents rushed toward her, fussing as if a national tragedy had occurred. "People are making videos about me," she whispered. Thousands of comments telling me I deserve it, calling me a scammer, a liar, a thief. My father glared at me like this was somehow my doing, even though the truth was simple. She had set the fire herself. My mother turned to me with a desperate expression. Can't you talk to her followers? Tell them to stop? Tell them you forgave her. Forgave her. The irony almost made me laugh. I'm not responsible for her audience, I said. She built them. She can address them. That's cruel, my father snapped.
No, irrablia.
It's honest. Liana walked toward me then, not with anger this time, but with something closer to fear. I didn't think it would get this bad, she said. I didn't think people would turn on me. I met her eyes. For the first time in our lives, she wasn't the brightest star in the room. She was a person facing consequences she never imagined she'd have to face. I didn't want this to happen to you, I said truthfully. But I wasn't going to lie to protect a version of you that doesn't exist. Tears welled in her eyes. Her voice cracked. So that's it? You won't help me? I already did, I said, by telling the truth. She broke then, not into anger, but into silence. A silence that acknowledged something neither of us had ever said aloud. Our relationship had been built on an imbalance. And now that I finally stood tall, she didn't know how to stand beside me instead of on top of me. She turned away, heading back upstairs, each step soft but heavy. My parents said nothing. I went back to my laptop. By evening, my orders had crossed 900. My future was no longer tied to her shadow. I wasn't a supporting character in her story anymore. I had finally stepped into my own narrative, and this time, no one could steal it.